Oh, dear Lord, we got here. Hello and welcome to This is Private Practice for Friday, the 31st of August. Do you know what this means, people? Do you know what the 31st of August means? Tomorrow is spring. Hallelujah. No more winter. The end. See you later. Warming up. Ha, ha, ha. So excited. It's spring tomorrow. And it looks like it's been a gorgeous day. Here in the Blue Mountains, I walked through my house, which it feels cold. I haven't been here for 3 days. It feels fairly cold because it hasn't been lived in, and walked outside and, you know, the sun was shining all over the backyard, and that was just really delightful. Although I have a cement bird bath and something large has managed to knock it over. So I'm a little bit concerned about the size of the thing, the animal, assuming it's a possum, because, you know, it's spring now as of tomorrow. So all the animals are out going, woohoo, it's spring. My apologies. I will calm down. Fell asleep on the train on the way home this afternoon, so I may be a little scattered and all over the place, and you get to be entertained by me rather than informed today. Many hellos, Priscilla and Adele and Faye. It's so lovely to connect with you. My apologies for the last couple of days not being available. Yesterday in the traffic in Melbourne was hilarious. We had a lovely taxi driver who couldn't believe that we were stuck in so much traffic, and I was trying to get on and do a Facebook Live, but every time I looked at my screen, I felt fairly nauseous. So I thought we should not, that could have just ended badly for everybody. So who has something to celebrate this week? Come on, we've hardly chatted with each other this week. What's been going on in the world? I have been meeting and greeting all the people this week. Unusual, no, not unusual. I haven't been able to do this for a while. So some of you may not know, I get to live with a uncomfortable condition called rheumatoid disease these days. And one of the effects of that is I get fatigued. Incredibly fatigued. So I have to manage my energy really well. And I find it hard. People fatigue me, which is hilarious given the work that I do. But I have thus far chosen to be really focused and attention out on a very specific sort of cohort of people, like my team and my clients, and making sure that I serve them really well. And now we're just looking at adding in some networking for myself. So this week I went out on Tuesday night, then I flew to Melbourne with my husband on Wednesday so that I could coordinate and facilitate and deliver a fantastic network of my own in Melbourne on Thursday. And then we flew back into Sydney last night, and I attended an ALUCA Professional Development Day. ALUCA means the Australian Life and Underwriting Association, or Australian Life Underwriting and Claims Association, but today's session was nowhere near as boring as that sounds. It was all on integration of technology into health and healing, from artificial intelligence to an incredibly resourceful app for people post-cancer or living with cancer treatment and post-cancer. And then we got to meet some robotics as well, and it just blew my mind. You remember when you kind of saw your grandparents and they would say something that really aged them? And you're like, oh, Grandma, you're so old. Maybe you can remember doing that with your parents. Well, I had that moment today where I was sitting there looking around at who I considered to be all these young people, trying to think of 20 years into the future of what my industry is going to look like, and some of the subjects that we'll need to have in tertiary education facilities around how you interact with robots and how you have artificial intelligence companions to help with personal care. And I had this thought where I went, I don't know if I want to be in that world. And I went, oh my God, hello, Grandma. Hello, Granddad. It was just really amusing for me. Fortunately, I was with people who shared the same sentiment, but then we got over ourselves and could start to see how the future is, how we can harness all of this technology and the opportunity that affords us not to be scared of. We have responsibility. There's going to be a lot more social responsibility around technology. I think we're only just seeing the tip of that now, but yeah, it's really exciting watching people with spinal cord injury regain movement and sustain their regained movement, and the neuroplasticity of the brain, and how that is, we're healing brain injuries that used to kill people. I just think that is just absolutely fascinating. Something that I learned today in Great Britain, this is quite frightening. So all of you who are listening who are mental health professionals, Great Britain has appointed its first minister, so Minister of Parliament, the Minister of Loneliness. So loneliness is becoming such a problem in Europe, obviously, and probably for the rest of the Western world, that there are now government initiatives to look at ways that we can combat loneliness and what do we need to do. Because research continues to tell us that loneliness is a massive, massive cause of mortality. And social isolation and loneliness are not necessarily the same thing, but we are living in this incredibly connected and interconnected world, yet people are experiencing lack of intimacy and a lack of connection, which is creating loneliness, which is creating depression and mental health and suicide and all sorts of other horrendous things that we have a responsibility, because we've got the knowledge and the skill base to be able to help people deal with that. But my challenge today was, how do we help technology? How do we use technology in a way not to continue to isolate people and create greater loneliness, but how do we engage with the technology to help form intimate relationships and improve that sense of connection, incredible connection that we can have with people? So one of my commitments to myself this week is to actually use my telephone, my mobile phone, my cell phone as its intended purpose, and call my grandmothers. Now, my sister's on the call today, so Adele, you can keep me to this. How hard can it be for me to make a phone call or two this weekend, given that I haven't spoken to them since the funeral of my father, and that's probably, 6 weeks ago? So I want to increase their sense of connection with me and family, and that's probably really important for me as well. I'm celebrating the fact that I get to learn, and that I live in a day and an age where there is so much opportunity for learn. We cannot keep up. Research, epidemiological research, cannot keep up with the advancements that are being made. And while we all love evidence-based medicine, the research needs to catch up with what it is. The research needs to catch up with our ideas and what we're implementing. I think in this day and age of being an entrepreneur, you go forward and you try and you be curious and you ask questions. And then what needs to happen is we need the research and the evidence to come behind it and demonstrate our hypothesis for us. We all know that I'm not an academic. I have made no bones about that. I am grateful for the other people in this world who are academics. So it excites me that we're going to see this marriage again of people who are out there at the coalface doing the work, being supported and contributing to an increasing body of evidence. And it's exciting to think that evidence-based practice is going to continue to broaden. So I was reminded today of how important it is for us to be keeping our knowledge and skills relevant. And that could be overwhelming. I certainly got overwhelmed for a little while thinking about that today. It's like, oh, and now I have to become an expert in neuroplasticity, and now I have to become an expert in artificial intelligence and its applications for neuro rehabilitation, and then depression, and then anxiety. And so no, I just need to be a student, and I just need to be curious. And I just want people to learn to take control of their own journeys. And I'm a facilitator and a resource for that. And that's just so empowering for everybody. If I can impart knowledge and wisdom, if I can share experiences and research based on 20 years of experience, then what a great body of knowledge we are contributing to. There we go. That's a lot to take in. Good thing I had a nap, don't you think? Next week is shaping up to be pretty darn busy as well. Just thought I'd put it out there. So this weekend for me is about replenishment. It's about reconnecting with myself and my house, probably watering some of my plants because we are in a drought, and despite the little bit of rain, it really hasn't done anything. So what are your plans for the weekend? How are you going to nurture you and nourish you? How are you going to look after yourself? So yes, we need rest, and we need nutrition, and we need connection. Otherwise, we are going to need our own ministers of loneliness. And we need to make sure that we're contributing to ourselves in really positive ways. So how can you do that for yourself this weekend? So for me, I love to read, and I'm reading a great book at the moment, a novel. And then I'm excited because I received a gift this week. Thank you, Sherry, she has sent me another book, and I'm really excited to get into that as well. I know one of the things that's missing for me is more movement. So as I learn how to manage this rheumatoid disease with the fatigue and the pain, movement is something that I've become a little bit fearful of. So I want to commit to doing some more movement this weekend as well, because that's going to be nourishing for me. And let's face it, if I exhaust myself, I can go to bed because nobody's relying on me for anything else. So I want to encourage you this weekend to do something, especially for you in the United States. You guys have got a 3-day weekend. Please use it. Don't kid yourself and think you're going to catch up on your invoicing and your insurance payments and your notes and all of those things, or you're going to clean a closet. How about you think about how you can rest and replenish and use these 3 days really wisely so that you can gear up, because we're sliding into the end of the year and it gets incredibly busy. For us here in Australia, when the Melbourne Cup horse race is on, that's it. The end of the year is pretty much upon us. That's November. And for you guys in the States, kind of Thanksgiving is it. So we don't really have a lot of time left for the productive goal orientation, success stories that we wanted to be able to tell. So the most important thing you can be doing this weekend is learning how to look after you. So that is my commandment. What are you going to do to look after you this weekend? And Kathy Love, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a really cool afternoon. So I'm going to say goodbye now because I'm obviously thirsty. Wishing you all a fabulous weekend. Check in with me next week and find out how my grandmas are doing. That way I'll make sure that I stay accountable to that. Looking forward to talking to you next week, everyone.